We're going to do a variation on 90-90 for that internal rotation in the back leg. I have a block here because there's a variation where we can use the block if you can't get into the position. So we're going to set up in this. It's going to be a half 90-90 in a combat base, which just means you're on one knee. You're like kneeling, one knee down. So I'm going to get into position where I'm going to put one leg up like this. So this is our combat base here, and then I'm going to take this leg out and we're going to put it into that internal rotation. So I'm going to just go turn a little bit to the side. I'm going to get it out here like we would in a 90-90, using this block to try and help me get into it a little bit. You want to be 90 degrees here, 90 degrees here, and then we're going to sink down to what level, right? Block is helpful for that kind of stuff where you can just like support yourself a little bit and sit into it. What you're going to feel is a stretch in and around this hip, adductors, etc. Really, we're trying to get as much internal rotation, so I'm trying to sink as far as I can down. If you need to, this block can be underneath your bum to help you sit more, right? That's the variation. So I just popped it underneath this combat base side bum, and now I can sit a little more comfortably into this, right? If you have really good internal rotation, you might not need it, right? So we're gonna sit here into this and we're sinking, allowing that hip to flex, holding the stretch for 2 full minutes. This is a PAILS and a RAILS, or progressive angular isometric loading and regressive angular isometric loading. We are trying to load the tissue of the capsule in your hip joint in specifically internal rotation. So we're hanging out here, we're trying to expand that internal rotation, get more of it. Most of us don't have any or much at all. And so working on this internal rotation will give your hip more capsule space, thereby more work space, so that you can actually allow the tissue to have more range, okay? So we're hanging out here. We're going to now, after 2 minutes, do 2 contractions. We're going to contract the tissue we're stretching and then the tissue we're shortening. We want to do both those maximally. The first one, we're going to ramp up to that maximum effort. The second one, we're going to go right away into max effort. So my first contraction, staying exactly where I am. This is isometric, non-moving. My heel and knee, but more my heel, is going to drive into the floor. So I'm going to ramp down, radiate tension, tap that air in your lower abdomen. Your whole body is tight. Everything you got starting to push down. 20, 40, 60, 80. Greatest effort. Hold that there. You'll feel more load through the tissue here. Hold, hold. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then release and rails. Rails is I'm actually trying to lift that foot off. Again, isometric. So nothing really happens other than the tissue engages. Hold, hold, hold. Max effort right away. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release. After your first round of a 2-minute passive stretch, 15-second ramped up contraction of your PAILS tissue or tissue you're stretching, and then 15-second contraction of your RAILS tissue, the tissue you're shortening. You can then go further. You can sink a little further and feel that more stretch. Usually open up 10 or 15 degrees of range. So I often tell people, if you can handle it, try and do more than 1 set, because you're going to then open up that new range and really work into that capsule space. This is a great exercise to open up those hips and keep that range. Now, to come out of this, easiest way is come forward, bring that foot in, and sink yourself back down. The best thing after is to go do some hip cars. There are many hip car videos on my channel, so go check them out. Some circles of your hip joint. So this was internal rotation from combat base, half combat base, and half 90-90. Let me know how you get on.